Hey everyone, for this week's assignment we are doing a demonstration speech. As I thought about what I could do over here with my limited resources, I figured I would do something with my weapon system here. So for this speech I'm going to show you how to take apart and reassemble the M4 rifle. It's basically the same thing as the AR-15, M16. If you can take apart one, you can take apart the other ones with a little bit of variation. So I have a strong working knowledge on this weapon system because it's the same weapon I've had for 3 years. I've completed a lot of courses through the military on training on it, and I carry it almost every single day, so I have a good working knowledge on it. So let's get started with the basic breakdown of the M4. So step one is the same step when you're handling any weapon system, doing anything with the weapon. You're going to clear it out so you don't accidentally shoot somebody or have a round go somewhere you don't want to. So first, to clear it out, you're going to make sure it's on safe. So checking the safety lever, verify it's on safe. My weapon is on safe. Next, I'm going to remove the magazine, effectively removing all the ammunition from the weapon. Pushing the magazine release button, the magazine should slide right out. So next, it's not completely clear because there could still be a round in the chamber. So to check the chamber, we have to pull the charging handle to the rear, lock it in place using the bolt catch and release button, which is right there on the edge. So now the bolt is locked to the rear and you can see that it's open. So visually inspect the barrel by looking into the bolt, looking into the ejection port, down the barrel. If you don't see a bullet or any obstructions, then your weapon's clear and you can send the bolt forward. And close the ejection port cover. It's habit, I suppose. So now we can start taking our weapon apart and know that it's not going to fire on us because we just verified that the weapon is clear. So starting with the 2 pins right here, where you can see here's one. That is the takedown pin. And here is the other one right above my finger. That is the pivot pin. And they're both rightly named. You'll see so here in a second. So pushing the takedown pin through, putting it on the other side. And note these won't all come all the way through because they have stoppers. And there's the takedown pin, which takes down the lower receiver. That's why it's called the takedown pin. Here's the pivot pin. You gotta remove that. Sometimes that one sticks because it gets some carbon in there from firing. So sometimes I take a pen cap. Once you got that pushed through a little bit, flip it over. You can pull the pivot pin out. Again, that won't come out all the way. And here we have the low receiver. The pins, like I said, will stay in place. But now the two parts are separated, lower and upper receiver. Let's set the, actually let's start with the lower receiver. There's only 2 parts in here that we're concerned for the basic takedown. So taking our pen cap, you don't want to hurt your fingers because it's kind of sharp and there's a lot of spring tension. You'll see this little gold piece right here. That's the buffer, and behind it is the spring. And if you look really closely, I know it's kind of hard, but there's that little tiny pin right there. That pin is the only thing holding the buffer and the spring in place, and there's a lot of tension on it. And we don't like to pinch our finger, so we're going to use our pen cap. So using our pen cap, we're going to push that little pin in until the buffer pushes out. Now we can remove the buffer and the buffer spring. And this is the buffer, and this is the buffer spring. Now that's done. Lower receiver is completely done. Let's set that aside until we put it back together. Now taking the upper receiver, we have to remove the bolt and the bolt carrying group out of the upper receiver. So pulling on the charging handle, which if you can tell from the video, right here, you're going to pull on that and both of them should slide out like such. See how the bolt carrier group followed the charging handle? Now you can just remove both of those, pull out the bolt and then the charging handle. Now we're finished for a basic takedown. We're finished with the upper receiver. If you did a more detailed one, you could take the hand guards off and such like that, but that would take a lot longer than the time we have allowed. So we're just doing a basic. So set aside your upper receiver here. So now you have, this is what your charging handle looks like by itself. And we're going to set that aside. I like to use it as a tray so I don't lose all my small pieces. And now we have the bolt carrying group. So first step in taking apart the bolt carrying group is to remove the firing pin retaining pin. And that little guy hides right inside here. This little notch. So again, I like to use a pen cap, because if it breaks, oh well, lost a pen cap. If you have a cleaning kit, sometimes they have a little neat pin tool for that. So taking your pen cap, reach up in there and get it inside the little tiny pin. Remove it so you can grab it with your finger and pull it out. And that's how a little tiny guy looks like. Setting it inside our charging handle so we don't lose it because it is tiny. Next, we're going to remove the firing pin from inside the bolt carrying group, and to do that, it's very simple. Just turn it, pound it in your hand, and the pin will fall out. Firing pin. Again, set that inside the charging handle so you don't lose it. Now we've got two more pieces. We have the bolt and the cam pin. So the cam pin sits up in here. It's that little square thing you'll see right there. Alright, we need to twist it so that it'll come out. And then it's very loose, you pull it out with your hand. So just so you can see it, a better angle. There she is. That's what holds the bolt inside the bolt carrying group. Now just remove the bolt, just pull it straight out, and that's the bolt. So alright, setting that aside, setting the bolt carrying group aside, you have completely disassembled your M4 rifle, but we got to put it back together. Putting it back together is really simple, it's just exactly reverse. So pick up the bolt carrying group. You're going to put your pin back in, or sorry, put your bolt back in. Slide that in. Now, looking through the top hole, right there where this pin goes, we're going to put this pin back in. Should just fall right in. One of the holes will accept it, one won't, so if it doesn't work the first time, just spin it. Now pull the, see how it sits in like that? Pull the bolt out so that it's fully extended, and twist that little square knob so it's the rectangle is the long way. Now, picking up your firing pin, you got to put the firing pin back in. So hold your bolt carrying group with the bolt down, cover the two side holes, drop the firing pin into the top and guide it through. It'll fall right in place. Now taking the firing pin retaining pin, the little tiny guy, we got to put him back in there so our firing pin doesn't fall out. Put him back inside this little hole, and there we go, he's in. Now just to make sure the pin's not going to fall out, give it a couple taps, pin doesn't fall out. Bolt carrying group is completely back together. Set that aside, pick up your lower receiver. You got your spring and your buffer. So sliding those together, I like to do it all at once. And push it back into the buttstock where it was until it clicks. So once we get the spring in there, now slide the spring in there. Don't let it go or it'll fly out at you. And now it's clicked and it's back behind that tiny pin we saw before. Set that aside because we got to put our bolt back together, or our bolt inside our upper receiver. So here's our upper receiver. Flip it over. Take your charging handle and insert that back into the notch where it goes. There it goes. Now I rest mine on my knee, holding the upper receiver and the charging handle together. Grab your bolt, make sure the bolt is still extended all the way. Using the little tube on top right there, that's the gas tube. That sits in the cradle of the charging handle. So put that in the cradle of the charging handle. Make sure it's fully extended. See, it's not fully extended, it wouldn't go in. Now it's fully extended. Put those in together and slide them in together and they'll click in place. Now we're back to our pivot and takedown pin. Move the ejection port cover out of the way so you can see. Taking your lower receiver and your upper receiver, slide them together at the pivot pin And all you gotta do is push it back in, and now it's attached. And push it up. Push that pin in that we took out to begin, and now it's back together. And your M4 is successfully put back together and ready to use. So we've learned how to take it apart and put it back together, and I had a good time talking about it. I hope you had a good time learning. And if you're a weapons person, you probably already knew how to do that. It's a good refresher. If you weren't, don't be afraid of them, and practice makes perfect. So again, thank you, and I'll see you next week on the final project.